Welcome to the Influencer Marketing Blueprint, where we teach e-commerce brands the 3-step formula that drives revenue, not just likes. I'm Cody Whittick.
And I'm Taylor Lagasse, and we're here to guide you to influencer marketing success. Let's get started.
We're going to be talking about whitelisting today. Real quick, what is the definition of whitelisting? There's a lot of dark posting, boosting posts. Maybe just talk about all the differences there.
Yeah. So whitelisting and Spark ads, do you want to just throw that in?
Yeah, let's throw that in there.
Whitelisting, Spark ads, same exact meaning, just one's for TikTok ads and the other one is for Instagram and Facebook ads. Whitelisting being Instagram and Facebook ads, Spark ads being the TikTok ads. And all that is literally when you're scrolling on your feed on Instagram or on TikTok and you see a sponsored ad, but instead of it being from a brand, it's coming from an influencer and it says sponsored. And in that content that's being pushed as an ad, they're promoting a brand that is a whitelisting ad on Facebook and Instagram, as well as a Spark ad on TikTok. So all it is if an ad is coming from an influencer's handle instead of the brand's handle, in short. That may have been a little bit of a run on, so maybe not that short, but that's the definition.
That was pretty short. And then why is that different than boosting posts, or how is that different?
Yeah, boosting posts a lot of the time is more so for the vanity metrics that here at Kynship we try to avoid a little bit. Yeah, so a boosted post is after a post goes live from an influencer, you have the opportunity as a brand, or the influencer has the opportunity to do it themselves if they want to, put money behind their post to boost it to a greater audience, greater reach, ultimately, typically with the objective of more views, more impressions, more likes, more engagement, all of that we don't really care about and we don't think you should care about either. But instead, when whitelisting or running Spark ads, you can set the objective as conversions. So instead of going after the vanity metrics surrounding engagement, you're going after what you really care about, and that's revenue through a conversions campaign with that objective in mind.
Why do you think majority of people are interested in whitelisting?
It's a great question. I think it's just the next one-off drug that you always speak to that people think is sexy. And I think it's still, for whatever reason, even though it's been around for quite some time, it's still kind of like that thing a lot of people haven't tried, haven't done. And then when they figure out, oh, that's a thing, you can do that, it's really enticing and sexy and attractive. And so they're going to be like, oh, of course that will work. If we can run it from their handle, oh, what another, like logically it can make sense, right? Just a whole nother level of validation from someone else about our product, this and that. So I think a lot goes into it, but I think I would just be hypersizing.
I also think that people are overemphasizing the fact that it's not as addy as like what we would say is like, it's not going to come off as, you're going to be scrolling through your feed and not seeing a brand handle. But in reality, as they're not even looking at that. Like it's like the fourth thing that they see, right? They're going to see the content first and then realize, oh, like after, if they stay long enough, they're going to realize that it's the actual influencer handle in this serving this ad, or hopefully it doesn't come across as an ad, right?
Right, exactly right. I mean, people's attention, right? Facebook measures 3-second video views as a metric of success. If you're thinking that they're actually going to be able to see the handle, again, just referencing the heat chart that you dropped there as like the last thing that they look at, just worry about them watching 3 seconds of the freaking video instead of who's serving the ad.
Which is a great point to, point out, like we're going to get into like stories of whitelisting and the millions of ad spend that we've put behind whitelisting as kind of just a credibility thing. But what's the metric? You're in the 90th percentile if you get past 3 seconds on 3-second video views?
You're at 5-second video, 5 seconds in a video on an ad, you're in the 90th percentile across all Facebook ads, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just point proven in the pudding right there. It's like, that has nothing to do with the handle.
Right, and to hammer that home, yeah, based on a heat chart where people's eyes go, it's the video first. So prayers up that they make it to 5 seconds. Then it's the body copy of the ad. Then it's the headline. And then it's the username serving the ad itself. So just worry about getting to 5 seconds and getting in the 90th percentile.
So focus on creative, people. We harp on that enough, but let's get into. Well, I was even thinking
Beat the dead horse, Cody.
in the past. When I was at Kalo, I didn't like it was called advertiser access. Like that's what we just used. Like Taylor Holiday was always just hitting me up, like make sure you get advertiser access for these influencers, these macro partnerships. And I think back in the day too, advertiser access meaning the same thing, so that you can access to their audience. The agents themselves didn't even know what it was, so they couldn't even really negotiate a bigger price point. It was kind of just like, hey, we're gonna get into the back end and sign into your account. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have access to your whole page and be able to just delete it if you want, actually, but trust us. So, I mean, even referencing, we talked about Brittany Aldean like a long time ago, but she absolutely crushed with advertiser access. Maybe it's the fact that it was new, but again, I think we'll get into some stories where it hasn't worked. But well, maybe just start off on a positive note, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening to this and still think it's like the one trick pony that's going to scale their ad account. It has been maybe at best a coin flip on whether it's worked or not. And what we've talked about is like the variable there is the creative. But can you think of maybe 1 to 2 stories where whitelisting was incredibly successful or just successful in your heyday back in Chattahoochee?
I mean, there's certain brands that this really crushes it for at the end of the day. 2 brands that come to mind, Cuts is one. I mean, they've spent over 50% of their ad spend budget literally behind whitelisting influencers and the campaigns within their ad account. And they've traditionally seen it outperform than serving those ads from their own handle. Another one, literally, is a client of ours currently who has requested that following our seeding efforts on their behalf, hey, can we follow up with whitelisting for them? And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. From what we've seen, and I just basically asked her, like, have this proven to work for you historically? Because across $300 million of ad spend that we've done a correlation test on, there is no correlation between doing whitelisting and actually seeing greater performance. But again, there's a ton of use cases within that size where, hey, for certain brands, it'll work. For other brands, it'll far underperform. But across the board, there's zero correlation of a lift in performance across $300 million. So it's not to say don't try it. There has been success, like Cody had mentioned with Brittany Aldean as well with Kalo and Cuts and this other brand Unbloat Me as well. So it's not to say don't try it. It's just not like, hey, don't just go spend $1 million to go do it.
Wasn't Mallory Irvin from Packed Clothing like one of our first clients? That was like one of the biggest things, right? Was whitelisting access that we got to. That was like a lot of her success.
So for her, it went back and forth. I remember we did a test on Mallory Irvin, like basically a correlation test, running the same content from her handle and from the brand's handle at prospecting, so the top of the funnel.
Mm-hmm.
Another piece of content from her handle as well as from the brand's handle at like the second level of the funnel, third level of the funnel, all the way down to the bottom of the funnel. And again, at different levels of the funnel, the brand handle one, Mallory Irvin's handle one, the brand's handle one. So I would just recommend, if you do have whitelisting access, test it at every level of the funnel and run the same content from the influencer's handle as well as from the brand's handle as well as your handle to see, is this really even, prompting a difference in performance here?
Okay, let's say someone listening right now is like, I want to test this. Maybe I have an influencer partnership, or there's influencers already part of our community, affiliate partnerships, whatever the case may be. I've never done this before. What is just the practical next steps that I take with this influencer? Like, I mean, most influencers, lucky enough, all of them are pretty much familiar with this term now, as opposed to like even going back a couple of years when we were doing this. It's like they thought we were like getting their social security number. But so most influencers know what it is now. So you're already over that barrier of entry. But like, what's this conversation look like? What are the actual practical back end steps? All the above.
Yeah, when it comes to Facebook and Instagram, and we can, if you just reach out, we can send you template instructions on this as well.
25 cents.
That's right. That's right. 10 if you're lucky. Yeah, you just send advertiser access request within Facebook's Business Manager on the Instagram side of things, as well as on the Facebook side of things. And when it comes to Spark ads for TikTok, the influencer just provides you with a Spark code that you can plug in, and then you're able to run that content as a Spark ad on TikTok side of things. So that's like the back end. Like Cody had said, though, it is kind of still like, to a certain degree, that they're giving you their social security card. And I think, again, we're hypothesizing. Agents are in their ear, hey, this is like the new feed post price point that's super hyper inflated and all of that. And that's where we're just like, hey, if there's no correlation to a lift in performance, just don't go spending hiked up rates in order to do this, when in reality, it's just all about the content.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we've said too, even to our clients, is like, let's get their content from seeding, or even if they're a consistent influencer, into that account, see if they're a top performer, then start entertaining whitelisting. Is there a metric for success where you'd start entertaining that? Like, you've seen their content perform well, reduce CPA, whatever the case is, by $1, $10, $5, like, if that's the case, or is it, even video views, they're in 7 seconds or whatever the case is, like, when would you be like, okay, let's try to tap into their audience? Again, like, the point is, what I'm hearing from you is just test it. Let's see if it works, but don't start breaking the bank. But is there any metrics for what you'd be looking at as far as like, hey, X, Y, and Z brand, let's go back to these 3 creators. They've had X, Y, and Z metrics of success. Is it ADA?
This is like the one time where I think it is more so to do with the organic side of things. It's really like, for Glitch Energy, one of our clients, one of the co-founders is a pretty massive influencer, where when he posts, they'll have 50K days, 80K days, just based off of him posting. And that's attributable revenue to him. So like pretty sizable spikes for this specific, D2C brand. That right there is just like a very clear indicator. Hey, there's an opportunity here to whitelist this influencer. Because whitelisting, what you're really leveraging is your ability you want to get a better understanding of how warm their audience is that follows them on social. So is it really like an audience that will convert? And if he's posting organically and reaping that much revenue from posts, that is a clear indicator that, there's an opportunity there to scale those efforts through whitelisting potentially. So that's what I would more so look at. But again, I wouldn't pay for that up front until you see the proof in the pudding. And so from your seeding efforts, step 1, repurposing their content to paid, getting them on board and doing affiliate. What do they produce in affiliate? After you see those results, then entertain the whitelisting conversation with an influencer.
Okay. So you're not looking at any like paid ad performance metrics in terms of to tell you about whitelisting.
I mean, sure. At the same time, again, if they prove to be a profitable relationship, I think the clearest indicator of seeing if this is worthwhile is, did the organic drive results? Because then you'll be able to see, is it worth running ads from this person's handle into their audience? As I would say, probably the leading indicator. But yeah, if someone's content performs really well and paid, again, why not test it? If it's proven to be a profitable relationship, I mean, if you listen to our podcast and follow us and what we put out content-wise, we're all about testing as much as possible. Again, what we're trying to make clear is, don't just go paying for this up front without, again, seeding, using their content paid, onboarding them to affiliate, gauging performance across all of that before entertaining this style of relationship.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up cuts too. It's just like, one, props to seeding. They seed and have been a huge proponent of seeding for a long time. They're working with thousands of influencers. So like at scale, some of these are going to hit. Like you're having a diversified portfolio now. Like you're not putting all your eggs in one influencer doing one whitelisting partnership. I'm sure some of them flop, but the more that you do it, like the more that you test it and you're seeing proof of concept across the board, like in the scale at which they're doing influencer marketing, you're going to see performance.
For sure.
Okay, so that's interesting, because I think one of the things that we're looking at from a paid media performance wise on is always saying, hey, test the creative, see if it's going to be worthwhile. That's one of the ways that you're testing this partnership with the influencer. But what I hear from you saying is, okay, let's see the organic performance and testing that warm audience. Speaking of audiences, lookalike audiences. that was always like the huge thing about too with whitelisting or advertiser access, was just like, okay, not only can you serve their audience, but then you can create lookalikes off that audience, like at a 1% lookalike. Define the lookalike audience for the listeners. And then like just there's advantages there with whitelisting as well still.
Yeah, it used to be something that was pretty attractive, and we would do like an audience stack where we'd stack the Instagram engagers the last 365 days, Facebook engagers the last 365 days, with the influencer that is. And then, yeah, you can build what are called lookalikes within Facebook, which is basically Facebook will then take that audience of IG engagers and Facebook engagers, their followers pretty much, and then they will produce an audience of 2.1 million people right around there that are most similar to the people within that subset group, based off of every single move you've ever made on the internet. Props to the Facebook pixel. But what I will say is we don't really leverage that anymore. We don't really utilize it anymore, just because we're big proponents of broad audience targeting. And when you just limit it to 2.1 million people, you'd rather go broad. Facebook's smart enough, if you go broad, to go identify those people that are most likely to convert, regardless if it would have been part of that quote unquote lookalike audience. And you would rather find the cheapest conversion than someone that is a part of that, lookalike audience per se. So yeah, Facebook's machine learning system just continues to get more sophisticated in order to convert people and put your ads in front of the right people. So big proponents of broad audience targeting. And transparently, I probably wouldn't even build the IG Gauger audience anymore or the Facebook Engager audience anymore. I would just go to a broader audience. And hey, if people are going to convert within, that Facebook follower group, Instagram follower group, Facebook's going to find them regardless and put that ad in front of them if they're
So if you have a whitelisting partnership, you're saying don't do a lookalike off of that audience.
You don't need to. No, we're getting into like nitty gritty weeds now. It's good to make this delineation. Our rule of thumb truly is like if your store is converting 2,000 purchases per month, that is sufficient to go broad. Like if your Facebook pixel is gathering information surrounding 2,000 purchases per month on your online store, at that point it's enough data circulating on your Facebook pixel for it to make decision making from a broad audience perspective. So if you're above that, yeah, go broad audience. If you're below that, I would build the Facebook Engager audience, the IG Engager audience, so on and so forth. Hopefully that's not too in the weeds, but that's the delineation.
What are some of the whitelisting partnerships that have not worked?
Ooh, yeah, dude. Oh man, it was one of my. This was like 4 years ago now. It was my first deal at Common Thread Collective when I was over there on behalf of a company called Smart Cups. These guys, we got them to do like 150K across like 10 different influencers. And oh boy, not one. And they were all like whitelisting, and we were selling this thing, man. Like, this is going to crush. Just sipping the Kool-Aid that probably all the things that make you want to do it as well. Like, of course, this is going to work. This is this person coming from their handle. They're obviously promoting all that jazz. Man, they literally didn't. It was like nothing. They didn't reap any revenue.
Do you remember who some of those influencers were?
Ooh, it was a bunch of B-list celebrities. So like
Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Drake from like that Nickelodeon show, Drake and Josh, or like someone from The Gauntlet on MTV, like a bunch of like those people, B-list like actors and people on the people on the reality television shows. There was a couple like big ones I'm forgetting, but I just remember like, oh man, yikes. There should have been upfront diligence that was had instead of just paying this lump sum of money to do it.
And we were talking before we jumped on, Daniel Cormier, like one of the best UFC fighters of all time. We did it on behalf of one of our clients back in the day. Didn't see anything. Would you say that unless you have like The Rock, for example, or like a massive name, I get served some of these handles like, huge, not your C-list celebrity, but like if LeBron James did one of his partnerships, his tequila brand that he's always loving to talk about, through his handle, like, do you think, is that just a different echelon now? Like where you're still seeing, like you probably would get some of a lift, or no?
At this point, I personally don't really think so. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about such big household names. Like when you see like Kevin Hart with Fabletics, again, just with it being like the fourth thing on the heat chart that you look at, Kevin Hart is one of the most recognizable people in the world. Like,
And a great content creator.
a phenomenal content creator. Like the impact that you're trying to achieve of it coming from Kevin Hart is being achieved. Again, the most important piece is that content. He's in it, he's promoting it, he's talking about it, he's obviously backing your company, all that jazz. That said, if it's not an added cost and this influencer is willing to give you ad access, run it all day. The main point, again, we're trying to make is this is not worth it if it's this hiked up rate, an inflated rate, and it's like they're giving you their social security card. It's just not worth the trouble at that point. But test it if they're willing to give it to you. And one thing to make this came up for me right now, TikTok ads, for whatever reason, Spark ads, they're much more willing to grant it. I mean, it is easier to grant it, like the process surrounding it.
They're just checking a box, aren't they?
Yeah, like it's just super seamless. So following our seeding efforts, even like we'll follow up for the Spark ad code, and a lot of people will just grant that free of cost because it's just so seamless. So if they're willing to give it, always do it. That's not what we're saying. Just don't pay this hiked up rate.
Yeah. If you can add more tools to your tool belt, do it. But don't spend your rent check or your mortgage payment on it. All right. Well, that about covers it. If you, like you said, 25 cents to all the templates per template if you need on whitelisting. No, I'm just kidding. But please reach out to Taylor or I on, we have instructions, all these different things, best practices. And as always, thank you for listening. All right. That's all for today. If you'd like some help developing your influencer marketing campaign, go ahead and DM us on Twitter. Links are in the description. Or you can head to kynship.co to learn more, and you can book a call there. That's kynship.co. At kynship.co, you also find tools, templates, and resources, all designed to help you grow an influencer campaign that drives visibility and sales, not just likes. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and we'll see you next week.